I know I'm going to compliment what this movie does and succeeds at, but I just have to take a moment and just address the elephant in the room, which is no disrespect, no throwing shade at Mr. Bill Skarsgård. Okay, not at all. Absolutely not. Handsome looking dude, and one that is doing very well for himself, especially after not just this movie, but really what Welcome to Derry has done for him. So by all means, I'm glad that he is getting success as of right now. But I just got to be honest with y'all and be serious. For as much as I can tell you how I feel about his performance in this movie, let's be honest, the man looks nothing like the actual Tony Collette. Okay, like look at this and look at this. Come on. For as much as I understand it is about the acting, it is about the performance. I get that. But you couldn't have tried to make him a little like Mr. Gritz, give him the little seeing hairline at the top of his head or fat stomach. No. So he's just gonna look like a skinny twig trying to threaten this guy, even though you look at how Tony Kuritz handled the actual Richard Hall. Yeah, sure, okay. I mean, hey, at this point they're like, listen, we're not going for 100% authenticity. We're just going with what we know, okay? So, okay, fair enough. So I will not complain. I will shut up.
I'm just getting started.
Just go keep going straight.
No, I think it's a left up here.
I think I know where I live. God damn it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to focus
It's
on
a left here. You're right.
DeadMan'sWire is directed by Gus Van Sant and written by Austin Kolodney. The film stars Bill Skarsgård, Dacre Montgomery, Cary Elwes, Myha'la, Colman Domingo, and Al Pacino. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, on February 8, 1977, Tony Kuritz entered the office of Richard Hall, president of Meridian Mortgage Company, and took him hostage with a sawed-off shotgun wired with a dead man's wire from the trigger to Tony's own neck. As usual, another based on a true story film tends to present things as being accurate. Okay, that's usually how they want you to imagine the idea of, oh, this is how it actually was. And listen, I understand it's a marketing tool, but come on, guys. We all know this. This is Hollywood. Do you honestly think they're always going to give you 100% authenticity on how the story is? Because most of the time, while the premise is what actually happened, the actual story is almost 90 to, I would say, about 100% bullshit. So I get it. I understand. It makes for good marketing. But please, can we at least just try to work on not saying based off of, because I'm sure most likely that some of it is true and most of it probably not, but I digress. While always the case, and like I mentioned, Gus Van Sant, who is notable for directing Good Will Hunting and Milk, two movies that are acclaimed and two are some of the best movies to have come out in the 90s or in the 2010s, decided to take on this project to give it a spotlight on Tony Kuritz's holdup. This is a man who held, like I mentioned, Richard Hall in 1977 at gunpoint for what Meridian Mortgage Company had done to him for a piece of land that he had found that he had cleared, and that Meridian Mortgage was trying to take away from him or try to coerce him into giving the land to them and essentially pretty much them reselling it and making more money out of it. That is initially what this whole story is about. This guy who is getting swindled by this company. Add the cast and promising trailer, I was looking forward to what this film had to offer. It looked interesting. At the very least, it had this sort of really grounded 70s grit to it than most other biopics or events based on true stories tend to kind of sometimes make more lavish than compared to how the actual story is. And upon watching it, I found this to be a heavy and engaging story that paints us a picture on how regular people are screwed over by banks and mortgage companies, or just rich people. Pretty much essentially showing us how everyday people, even in moments like this where they feel like they can feel powered, or at the very least feel like they can use this for good, or use it to help themselves, or help others in certain ways, here comes banks, mortgages, rich people to just find ways to take that away from them, so that way they are left with little to nothing in return. But before discussing my only issue, and yes, I only have one problem with this movie, here are the positives that I found. The performances are stellar, everyone, but in particular, Skarsgård are terrific to watch, allowing it to have weight to it. And yes, everyone in the cast is amazing. Dacre Montgomery, who plays Richard Hall, he adds some worriness or rather tension in the scenes in which he feels like he is feeling like his life is threatened. Cary Elwes is enjoyable. Al Pacino, even though he's not in it all that much, he's enjoyable as well. But yes, the one that gets the highlight here is of course Bill Skarsgård. This guy, there is truly a reason why this man is getting a lot more projects, or at the very least a lot more recognition, is because of how much this guy can really transform it into characters. And as much as people will recognize him more so as Pennywise, I do think performances like these stand out a lot just simply because of the fact that this is a guy who, even though, yes, he is threatening someone, he is holding a man hostage, he is willing to do whatever it takes to wrong the people that have wronged him, at the same time, he is legit a nice guy. He is somebody that you can at least have a conversation with and have these sort of fun banters with each other. And somebody who is a legit nice person. Like, if he finds somebody that he knows or at the very least has recognized in the past, he'll be like, "Oh, hey, what's up? How's it going?" As he's casually holding the person that he is holding hostage to with a gun to his head. He is a really interesting individual. And while I understand people can look at this, or at least with this movie now being out, and say, well, you know, what he's doing is morally wrong. He is holding a man hostage. He is about to kill him for the sake of what? Being screwed over by a company. And while you may think that's far-fetched, and as somebody who would say, I wouldn't want to hold somebody hostage, at the same time, you get kind of why he does it. The movie goes into details, and that is just simply how Bill Skarsgård just really captivates you as Tony Collette and how he has been perceived. He is a guy who, yes, is nice, but he's doing something outrageous and crazy because he's left with no other choice. The direction is sharp. Director Gus Van Sant handles the film with care and treats it as being grounded, making this feel like 1970s. The way this movie is handled, how it is approached, makes this truly feel like something like what you would have seen in the 70s, something like Dog Day Afternoon. That's a movie that is kind of similar to this, in that, you know, you have a guy who is holding a bank instead of just, you know, the manager, but he's holding a bank hostage for his demands. In some ways, the movie does mirror how films of that era tend to be, how it builds up the tension, and that's just really because Gus Van Sant has a unique, keen eye of really building up the tension, but also knowing when to have a laugh with it. But he just knows how to invoke the era, the way in which things were. So, like, whether it be in car sequences, it just truly seems like they are actually in the car, actually driving, rather than how usually you would see actors just sitting in a car and you would just see green screen. It just seamlessly feels like a film of its era, of its time. Crazy to think that a movie of today can just be as effective as it was back in the 70s, and that's just simply because of how Gus Van Sant is able to really invoke the era in which it is trying to pull from. The cinematography is tight. Cinematographer Ardner Porter films a tense and personal movie that shows how Kritz was managing this whole situation. By using a grain effect, it does give the film a period look to it. And yeah, you could say it's kind of cheap in that, oh, well, it's using grain effect to make it seem like the 70s. Sure, but it's the way it's also shot, how it is handled, how it is maneuvered around close environments and close-ups on actors. That's very much reminiscent of the era in which 70s movies kind of tend to come off. This feeling of grounded approach to keeping you in the moment and making you feel like you are there or witnessing it all. It really gives you that sense of lived in feeling that movies like these would try to kind of polish and make you seem like, oh, well, it's larger than life, and you just don't get that sense of you were there. No, this makes you feel like you are truly there in the moment when it is happening. The music is effective. Composer Danny Elfman crafts a score that captures the tone and keeps things exciting, letting it build the tension. I was surprised to learn that Danny Elfman did the score for this movie. I would have never expected a man of his caliber to be making a score like this, but yet somehow he manages to build the tension each scene, but also knowing when to let in some of the comedy and letting it play into how real life tends to be and how things tend to come off as. He is a composer that is one of a kind, somebody that you can kind of root for whenever he's doing a score. I mean, just look at the filmography he has done, especially when you have him and Tim Burton in the same room, or him or Sam Raimi. I mean, this guy is crazy when it comes to being a musical genius, and yet here, it may not be his most amazing score, but it is one that does affect how this movie kind of plays off as. The story is investing, following Tony Collette as he holds the president of a bank hostage to expose their misdeeds was both riveting and complex, showing how people can do desperate things to fight back against bankers. And like I said, even though Tony is doing something ridiculous, insane, something that even though we have all thought we would never actually really do it, and he goes the extra mile to do it, you kind of understand why. Because yes, it is a story about how regular people are always screwed over by bigger people with so much power and money to swindle regular people who could either use that for themselves to get them out of a situation or use that money to give back to the community. In which case, that is what Tony was going to do. He was going to use the land that he cut down trees for and wanted to invest to make a supermarket for his community. Like, that's what he wanted to use it for. And the mortgage company was going to take that money and he would get money out of it, of course, but the mortgage company was going to use that to sell it for a higher price, and they could have gone to anyone else. So he feels like he has been robbed. He feels like people are treating him as a joke for doing that. Really, mainly Meridian Mortgage. And the way this movie kind of goes and keeps on delving into how Tony's life and what he did, and then of course you have what it means to kind of be in society and how people view you. That's just something that in today's day and age, that is something very much more prevalent now than it ever has been. The writing is solid. Writer Austin Kolodney balances out the serious nature of this event and adding bits of humor to make it feel real, giving it this even balance to what this story needs. You could say this could all be dead serious, 100%. It can be. But I do appreciate the little added humor that he does add in and sprinkle throughout this entire movie because, like, yeah, for as much as this was a serious event, the fact that Tony, who, yes, I know if you compare him to like Skarsgård to the actual Tony Collette, sure, it's a little ridiculous, but at the same time, I mean, like, you're not gonna realize that this guy could probably screw up or kind of feel like he's on edge just simply because he's nervously trying to pull this off. Of course, there's going to be mishandlings and situations that he feels as if, like, wait, hold on a second. I knew you were going to do that. Even though I just looked at it now and noticed you were going to do it. But I knew you were going to do that. So, of course, he's going to have mishandlings. Or as they're in a car driving and they're trying to go back to Tony's apartment, Richard Hall is questioning him on where he's living. And he's confident enough of, like, I know where I live. And Richard's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm just trying to. And Tony's like, well, yes, it's just that way. Yes, you were correct. So, of course, there's going to be added parts to it that just makes it kind of funny. So I do think that the movie does a good job of still knowing when to have humor, but also really though to still know that like this is a serious story for us to kind of relate to. The pacing and runtime is quick. Each scene was enough for the drama and bits of humor to flow well. With a runtime of 1 hour and 45 minutes, it's able to wrap everything up under 2 hours. That's insane. It's crazy to me that a true story like this did not go on for as long as it did. Thank you. Because, yes, we have seen a lot of the times biopics tend to be at or over 2 hours. And you have to ask yourself, I don't think this needs to be over 2 hours. Maybe at could be okay, but really over, no. It does not need to be anywhere like past the 2 hour mark. Because for a story like this, for as much as it is something that is serious and something to address, it's not really huge story material, okay? It's like very small scale. So they do treat it like such. Go through this as fast as they can so that way they can give you the information that the story was told and how it was presented. So I'm at least happy knowing that Gus Van Sant and company were able to just treat this in a way where it's nothing too big, but it is something to at least take note of. The production is amazing. The effort from the crew, props, sets, and costumes is on display, making sure everything is of the period. Because when you are in the 70s, you have to make sure that everything is tailor-made, or at the very least, really going into what it was of that period, whether it be the clothing, whether it be the cars, whether it be the music that you sometimes hear, but it's really also the sets and how it provides the atmosphere, the props, especially of the 70s period. It does really reminisce of how movies like these can be effective, even if, like, you could say its production isn't as lavish, especially for a true story. I do appreciate the attention to detailing with regards to what shirt Tony was wearing, or how in a certain scene how he was acting in the movie versus how he was in real life. So it is capturing all that on full display. The editing is consistent. Every cut feels precise and makes the film fluid. And also adding the real news coverage with the film blended nicely together. I did like elements where they did intersplice some of the in movie news coverages versus the real life coverages that they put into the movie, and it's worked together seamlessly. But yeah, the movie has this constant flow of where it wants to go, where it wants to take things. So for me, I do appreciate knowing that adding those parts to the movie were nice, but it's just this back and forth feeling of nothing is going so slow or feeling like it is inconsistent. It is always staying on point. Everything is there for this movie to work and to be such a fantastic film. But there is one issue that I will say does keep this movie from being as fantastic as it can. So here is now my only negative. The news team subplot is lacking. While I understand their inclusion, and I understand you want to have a side of it to where you see the news covering this, I just feel like it's pulled back and just doesn't add much, and quite frankly, feeling left out from everyone else. And when I mention by the news team, I mean mostly Myha'la's character. She's fine in the movie, but I do think that she wasn't given much, and that's just simply because with them focusing on Tony and how the police handle things, and then you also have the DJ Fred Temple played by Colman Domingo, and then you also have the father of Richard Hall, Al Pacino's characters. You have all these other characters there to help kind of sustain the movie, but then when you have the news, and while I understand why you would want to have a character like this, especially for its era, at the same time, it just kind of makes me feel like there just wasn't a lot there to be for this movie to work. So for me, I just kind of do wish this movie could have added more to that subplot, or if for nothing else, I do think that this is a subplot that I honestly think could have been kind of left out. Gus Van Sant offers a look at a man who was desperate and frustrated on how the wealthy get away with everything. Led by a captivating Skarsgård performance, DeadMan'sWire makes us more aware of the powerful people and question their true intentions. And that is something to take away with this movie. No matter who you are, we can all agree that we need to sometimes stay aware of how these powerful people, how these powerful companies take advantage of regular people and taking away powers, or at the very least, attempts of people trying to make a life for themselves or try to help other people out through other methods, and they will swoop in and take that away as quickly as they can so that they can profit off of it and leave you with nothing. So I do think that this is a movie that is speaking of today, not just of the 70s, of today, folks, because we are seeing that literally everywhere. And I think that this movie does really reflect that very well, to where we do and should take more present matters of how we view people in power and how we need to hold them accountable for what they do. I'm going to give DeadMan'sWire a 9 out of 10. This movie is amazing, is stellar. I know it's not playing in a lot of theaters, but if you do get the chance and if you have time, I highly recommend this movie, just simply because I think, again, not only is it a well-made movie, but it is a movie that speaks of what's happening now. And yes, you can say to me that, well, this was in the 70s, so, I mean, come on, it can't be that forward of today. I mean, people, come on. Let's not be around the bush, all right? The writing is on the walls of how today is like, and this movie just really sums it up and makes it more clear than ever that we need to be more aware of what is happening, especially with powerful people taking advantage of us, regular working class people who want to do right by others or want to have a better life in service of them getting more powerful and rich. So I will be soon reviewing The Rip. So yes, look forward to that review and other reviews coming soon.